Please go ahead.
Can you see the slide?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about DAWG type indexing structure for parameterized pattern matching. What is the parameterized matching? It seems that many already know, but parameterized strings are over 2 alphabets, constant symbol set sigma and parameter symbol set pi. And we said that 2 parameterized strings S and T parameterized match if there exists a bisection over pi, which makes the 2 strings identical. Let's see an example. For example, this parameterized string and this parameterized string parameterized match because by this mapping, you can make S1 into T. And then this pair is a mismatch, okay? Actually, to decide a match, we don't have to construct such a bisection explicitly. Rather, we use the prev encoding. Prev encoding replaces an occurrence of a parameter with a distance to the previous occurrence of the same parameter. If there is no previous occurrence, it is replaced with 0. For example, in this string, the first occurrence of x and y are encoded as 0. But second occurrence of y becomes 2 because we see y here, 2 characters before, and then the second occurrence of x becomes 4, like this. So S is encoded in this way. And then another parameterized string T is also encoded into the same string. So we can conclude that S and T is parameterized match. Okay. So the parameterized pattern matching problem requires us to calculate all positions of the substrings in a text that parameterized match a pattern. In this example, YBY and XBX P match XBX. So, and then those strings are encoded into 0B2 indeed. So we must output 4 and 8. Here, for simplicity, we discuss the problem as a decision problem. So we decide whether T includes a substring that P matches the pattern. The literature proposed various indexing structures for constant strings with which pattern matching can be performed efficiently, like suffix trees, directed acyclic word graphs, and so on. Concerning parameterized strings, P strings, not many indexing structures have been proposed, except Baker's P suffix trees, parameterized suffix trees. In this talk, we propose an indexing structure of parameterized strings, which we call parameterized directed acyclic word graphs, together with efficient online construction algorithm. Let's briefly review DAWG for our usual constant strings. The DAWG is obtained from the suffix trie by merging isomorphic subtrees. Here, nodes of the same color dominate the same subtrees, like these and these. So merging those nodes, we get this DAWG. This process can be rephrased in another way. We merge nodes which represent right equivalent strings. That is, they have the same ending position set. For example, in this text, CACAO, A and CA end at position 2 and 4. So they are right equivalent. At ACA end at position 4 only. So ACA and CA are not right equivalent. So by merging nodes with the same ending position set, so here same ending position set, we get the DAWG. This is another explanation of how to obtain the DAWG. So now let us think of about the parameterized strings. The parameterized suffix trie is based on the prev encoding of suffixes of a text. So here, say the second occurrence of x is encoded as 2 in the entire encoding of the entire text T, but it becomes 0 here if we lose the first occurrence of x in a shortcut suffix here, like this. So accordingly, to catch this kind of phenomenon, we say that 0A0 is a P substring of 0A2A0AB. So here, you don't see 0A0 as it is, but here, this part should be re-encoded to 0A0. Similarly, we say that this is a P suffix, parameterized suffix of this. Okay. We remark that usually 0 is smaller than positive integers, of course. But intuition about 0 in the prev encoding is rather the opposite. 0 may be understood as a big integer, bigger than near eyesight range. We use 0 when we cannot find the same parameter in our eyesight when looking back at the prefix we have read so far. The same parameter might occur somewhere beyond our eyesight or infinitely far before. That's the meaning of 0. So the meaning of 0 depends on the context you have. Okay, this is a delicate problem issue when handling parameterized strings. Simply, well, P suffix try is a try representing all P suffixes of a text. So this is an example, and you find 0 is 0 here. Well, then, like the standard DAWG case, let's merge isomorphic subtrees of the suffix try for this text. Okay, so then we get this structure, namely the minimal trimmed DFA for the P suffixes. This might look more compact than this guy, but actually not, because the size of the automaton is not linearly bounded. They are not necessarily more compact than suffix tries. This string witnesses the coordinate size. Tn is the repetition of Sn. Sn is defined like this. So the prev encoding of the whole Tn is now like this. So let us consider substring Pij, which is the concatenation of a suffix of Sn and then prefix of Sn, where I is bigger than j, so the prev encoding of this guy has no 2n. Okay, so then it is that in the automaton, by reading those things, if ij is not same as I prime j prime, then we reach the different nodes. This proves that the size is quadratic. So if j and j prime are not equal, then the only outgoing edge of Pij is aj plus 1. On the other hand, this guy is aj prime plus 1. So if j and j prime are different, then we reach the different node. And then on the other hand, when I and I prime are different, say I is smaller than I prime, then after this node, yeah, actually this is just a unary, no branching. And then you see the second occurrence of ai here. Then the following parameter xi is the second occurrence. So this becomes 2n. On the other hand, here I prime is bigger than I prime. So here ai is the first occurrence for this path. So this is 0. So this completes the proof. So we must think of another way of defining a DAWG for parameterized things. So recall that DAWG can be explained using ending positions. Ending positions for prev encoded strings are defined in the straightforward way, no problem. Then here, this is the minimal automaton from the previous slide. Here, we annotate each node with the ending position set. So indeed, we see those two nodes have the same ending position set, but they have different descendants. Why? Let's have a closer look at this new phenomenon, which was never observed in constant strings. Suppose the text has substrings like those, okay? And then here we have 3 nodes with the same ending position set, but they have different subtrees in the P suffix I. This guy has an edge labeled 3, which corresponds to this occurrence of y here. But here, this node doesn't have the edge 3 because for this guy 0a, 3 is too big. It's beyond the eyesight range. So 3 is too big, so it's encoded as 0 as well. So anyway, if we merge those nodes, this guy gets 3 0 edges. But as we already seen, the meaning of 0 are different. 0 means that it's bigger than our eyesight range. So putting the eyesight range number like this, you can choose the right 0 edge to follow. For example, if we read 0A, 0, then we have length 2 context. So we should follow 0 edge with the auxiliary information saying 2. Okay, so this way you get a pseudo PDWG. We call it pseudo PDWG. This is actually have a linear size. It's not too bad, but this is not what we are proposing. Rather, we use only the edges from the nodes with the longest context. I mean that here 2 nodes with the same set of ending positions, and then when merging those 2 nodes here, we use only those edges rather than those guys. Okay. So the resultant structure looks even odder. Here the node has no incoming edge. Here we lost incoming edge because those edges are ignored. Okay, but still we want to reach this node by reading A0. Actually, this is achieved by introducing suffix links. Suffix links are used in classical indexing structures, including DAWGs. So we apply the same definition to PDWG. Identifying nodes with their representing string sets, one can say that a suffix link erases some prefix so that the ending position set will be changed. For example, this node represents a 0A2, and by cutting the first occurrence of the first letter A0, you get A0. So because we lost the first occurrence of this guy, and then eyesight becomes just less than 2, so this 2 becomes 0. Okay, so then the occurrence position will be changed. And then suffix links followed like that. And then here we have 2 strings in this node, and then by cutting the first occurrence 0 from 0A, we get A, so this doesn't change the ending position set. And then cutting A, you get the empty string. Okay. So let's come back to this example. Here is the suffix try, and here is our PDWG. Let's try to find the node corresponding to the pattern 0A0. So I mean this guy. So by reading 0A, we reach this. Then the presence, we realize that this node has edge labeled by 3, which is bigger than our context length. So this means that those edges are more for longer context, right, rather than us. So by taking edge labeled 3, and then we take the suffix link, we take those 2 when reading 0 to get the right destination. Since the suffix link erases the occurrence of first letter, so that now the 3 beyond the scope of our eyesight range, so 3 becomes 0, and then you get 0A0. Okay. When reading A0, on the other hand, here A, and then 2, 3 are already too big. So we follow this edge and then this suffix links, so that 2 becomes now 0 by cutting those prefixes. Okay. So here is the formal summary of how to follow edges reading a pattern string. If the next symbol C is not 0, then it's easy. You just follow the edge labeled with C, as usual. If the next symbol C is 0, it's a problem. So let W be the set of integer edge labels, which is bigger than our eyesight range, context 5, context length 5 in this case. And then if W is a singleton, then simply we follow this edge. Okay? Because in our shorter context, 7 becomes just 0. Okay, so this is okay. And on the other hand, if the set W is contains more than two or more elements, sorry, two or more elements, then we follow the smallest edge and then follow the suffix length. Here 0 is bigger, okay, 6 and then suffix length. So proposed PDWG, on our proposed PDWG, we have some remarks. One can modify the algorithm so that it enumerates all the occurrence positions. PDWG can be seen as the dual or parameterized suffix tree proposed by Baker. One can define the compacted version of a PDWG by suppressing nodes with a single outgoing edges of the pseudo PDWG. So then in the remainder of this talk, I will present our online construction algorithm of PDWG. Our algorithm is based on Bloomer and others algorithm for constant streams, DAWG. Suppose that we already have the PDWG for W and we are now reading the next symbol C. We must modify the PDWG so that it recognizes all suffixes of WC which didn't appear in the previous PDWG. For example, when the previous thing exists and adding 0 here, we need to add those things because those guys are already in previous string. Then by LRS, we denote the longest string that is simultaneously a suffix of WC and a substring of W. In this example, the LRS is A0. So we must add a longer suffix is longer than the LRS. Okay, starting the sync node of PDWG, the previous construction, we find the LRS by following suffix link. And then the node including the LRS in the previous structure may be split into two in the new structure. For example, in this example, A0 and 0A2 share the same position set, ending position set. So they are in the same node, but adding 0 here, A0 also ends at the end, very end, but this guy doesn't end here. So this node, including those two, must be split. So this outline is common to DAWG, usual DAWG construction, but there are some differences. First, some nodes will not get incoming edges. And the second, when a node of PDWG is split into two, then the outgoing edges of the two nodes are necessarily identical. Let's say an example. Let's update this guy to this guy. Okay. For understandability, my slides show the sets of strings corresponding to nodes, but in the actual algorithm, it is enough to maintain the length of the longest element in each set. Okay. So first, we add a 0 edge from the old sync to the new sync. So we create a new sync and then connect them by a 0 edge. And then we follow suffix link and then ask whether we can read 0 from this node. Actually, we have two answers. First, if the context is 0A, then you cannot find 0 edge. You cannot read 0 from here. So we need to add a 0 edge towards the sync node. But if the context is A, then according to our matching rule, we can read this edge A0 like this. This means that the LRS is A0. A0 is already in the previous structure. So we get this. And then this node must be split because this guy ends at 5, but this guy doesn't. Okay, so we get this, good. And then we maintain the edges for the new node. So we copy this outgoing edge like this. And then one might expect to have edge from here to here like this, from A to A0, but actually we do not do this because edges of the node is determined by the longest element, 0A, and this guy has already a 0 edge here, so this guy has no incoming edge. Still, we can arrive here by reading A0 according to our matching rule A0. Okay. So adding and modifying suffix links this way, we complete the update. Let's see another example. Consider updating PDWG of these for these. So this shows only a part of the current structure. This has floating nodes representing those set of things. We first add a new thing and then connect by an edge labeled A. And then we follow a suffix link and then check whether we can read A. Otherwise, we add an A edge. And then continue that. Following suffix link, we add an A edge. And then following suffix links. And then now we find A edge. So this means that 0A is already registered in the previous structure. So 0A is the LRS. And then here 0A ends at the end of the new string, but 00A does not. So this node must be split into two. And then we must decide outgoing edge of this guy. And then 2 can be copied. However, 3 cannot be copied because 0A has a short context, just the length is 2, so 3 cannot be copied. Rather, we add a 0 edge from here to here. Why here? Because we're reading 0 from this node under the assumption that we have a isolated range of length 2. Then, according to our matching rule, 0 by reading 0 from here under this restriction, we read this. So we add 0 edge here like this. So this way we decide outgoing edges, and the incoming edges are redirected for this node to this node, like the standard algorithm by Lumaital for DAWG. So adding the modifying suffix links finalizes the update. So this is the summary and the remarks. Yes, thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Once again, I'm asking for questions from the